Welcome back to Bleeding Blue. This is New York Football Giants History Podcast, and with me today is my best friend, Nikki Snacks. This is a podcast and a show where we talk about the New York Football Giants and its history, and its great history. Last week, we talked about Tom Coughlin, and we started reading a book called A Team to Believe in. Snacks, how are you doing? You're one of my best friends. I love you.
I love you too. You said you were gonna do that fast. I didn't realize that fast. All right. Well, I'm doing well. I hope you're doing well.
Yeah, I've been starting to read some ads on Talking Giants, and I've been practicing reading the ad copies really, really fast. Like, you use promo code JohnBoy for 20% off your first dollar paid off in four $25 bets. Call Indiana 1-800 with it if you have a gambling problem. Like that.
You're a professional.
Yeah, thank you.
So I'm really proud of the strides you've made. I'm doing well. I was telling you before we started this thing that I found a box of my personal belongings when I was a kid. I probably haven't seen it in like 14, 15, 16, 17 years. And just a little, I want to show a couple things that I found. As you can see, there's some bobbleheads in the back. Check this out. 2003, right? You see that? Game ball. Look what I did in 2003 as a 10-year-old. 2 home runs, 3 RBIs.
Wow.
As a 10-year-old. Okay.
Good for you.
Yeah. Here's another game ball. I don't know why my stats aren't written on it. Probably had like 5 home runs. Either way. So just a couple little things. And then
Fucking bullshit. Oh, we're only 2 minutes in.
Do you see who this is?
You did it. I thought it was going to be a lot harder than that. You need to say something.
Fuck you, Tiki.
You decapitated him.
I did. I would do it in real life too. Oh, I shouldn't say that.
That's a threat.
Nah, it's a promise. So, you want to go back to the book?
Let's go back to... All right, I need to ask you a question, though.
Sure. Ask me anything you want.
Pre-show, you were trying to pull on that bobblehead, and you were having a little... I think you were having a little trouble. Did you loosen it up before we got on the air?
You've watched me. I haven't touched the thing until then.
I thought maybe you were doing something under the table where I couldn't see you.
No, that was just pure
pent-up rage,
anger, and emotion, and adrenaline, rage, frustration.
You ripped that off like butter.
Of course. You think just because I weigh like 155 pounds, I'm not strong as an ox?
When you get that anger in you, I don't want to get in your way.
Yeah, I'm only happy like one day a year, and like 8 minutes of every day. So
you recently just said in a Fade the Public vlog that you're happy 4 days a year.
Oh, is it 4?
Yeah, which
4? I don't even remember.
I think you were a little buzzed. Well, WrestleMania's 1.
Yeah, well, of course, duh.
The other day is draft day.
Yes.
The Giants season opener, correct. Number 3.
Yeah.
And your birthday, number 4.
I don't know. I don't like my birthday anymore.
4th of July.
By the way, because I'm getting old. And by the way, we're recording this on February 26th. You know what's in a month from today?
Is it your birthday?
Yeah, it's my birthday.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna be 21.
Woo! Congratulations.
Mm-hmm.
It's your 7th 20. No, it's more than that.
I'm gonna be 28, asshole. Okay, so
yeah, it's your 7th 21st birthday.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. Can we get to the damn book?
Yeah, we started reading off last week. If you didn't hear my fast intro, we started reading last week, A Team to Believe in. Tom Coughlin wrote that book based off of the 2007 season. A lot of people think Tom Coughlin only wrote one book. Now I say a lot of people, meaning myself. I only thought Tom Coughlin wrote one book, and it was basically that book where he talked about leadership and
Earn the Right to Win.
Earn the Right to Win. He went on Center Stage with Michael Kay, and that was a really cool interview that he did there. So I didn't know that he wrote a second book, which is a lot more prevalent to the Giants.
Correct. This is all Giants. And it's funny, a lot of websites seem to think that he only wrote one book too, because I thought I lost this book before we started reading it last week, and I was looking for the book everywhere online, couldn't find it. So anyway, whatever.
Yeah.
Last week we talked about Coach Coughlin's changed method, so to say, his
Yeah.
personality and how he changed, how he dealt with his players and the media and everything like that. So moving on, we actually have to start talking about the actual team and the players and how the 2007 season was and the team was constructed and built. And that all happens after one season ends. The next day, the next season starts. So players win championships. Coaches help them get there. Right, Justin?
Yes, sir.
All right. So Coughlin talks about what needs to be done in the offseason for the Giants to get back to the playoffs and to ultimately try and win a Super Bowl. So he says, coming off 2006 season, it is clear that we must field a transformative draft class in 2007. We need to select players who can contribute immediately, particularly, and I like how he mentions particularly because it's nice to get in the mind of a coach or a front office exec that actually points out what they need, not we just need the best player at whatever position. So I like that, particularly at cornerback and at wide receiver to constantly add playmakers to our roster. The money available to sign free agents to fill gaps can take us only so far. So we look to the draft for answers. Now, that's a pretty standard thing, right? What most people say that great teams are built through the draft and not free agency. This comes in a time stretch where the Giants actually did sign some very key and productive free agents like Kareem McKenzie, like Antonio Pierce, like Plexico Burress. But this 2007 draft class, ultimately, it might be their best draft class of all time, just considering the contributions that they made to not only one, but two Super Bowls.
Yeah. We're looking right here. Aaron Ross was that first pick. Steve Smith was the second round pick. Jay Alford contributes to one play, but that one play was
he lives in Giants lore forever because of that one play.
But let me ask you a question about that play, which I feel like this is like the third time that we've talked about this play in our very few episodes that we've done this offseason.
Well,
but
it's worth being talked about.
That's my favorite play. Jay Alford sack, and I'm saying that play, and I'm not even referencing what I'm referring to. And some people listening to this show may not even know what I'm talking about. Jay Alford's sack on Tom Brady at the end of Super Bowl 42, and that was the play in my, 10-year-old brain when the Giants won the Super Bowl. That was the play where I knew that we did it. Like that, boom, like the Giants did it.
That's the stamp right there.
So Jay Alford was a third-round pick out of Penn State. And for those Penn State fans where I feel like if you're a Penn State fan, I almost feel like it's a cult. I have some Eagle friends, friends who are Eagles fans who follow me on Twitter. And anytime I bring up Jay Alford, it's like, oh, Penn State. Oh, he was really good at Penn State. But that one, my whole point this is my question to you. Does that one play really live inside like the brain of Giants fans? And is it really a memorable, famous play in franchise history? Or am I just trying to force that and make it a reality?
I would say it's definitely not forced because you may be asking the wrong person because my answer is yes. Like that is a historic play. And just the fact alone that sack, we just beat the undefeated Patriots in the Super Bowl. Like that, to me, you could make an argument, obviously outside the Burris catch and the Tyree catch, Eli play. That play, the Alfred sack, is the play that pops up in your head when you think of that game. So I don't think it's that crazy to say.
So he was a third-round pick. Zach Diassi was taken in the fourth round, which is wild.
Yeah, it's not good. Who takes a long snapper in the third round?
But was he always a long snapper?
I don't even know what was he. Was he a linebacker?
He was an outside linebacker. That's what that's the position that he was drafted. But was he drafted to actually be an outside linebacker? He always hustled. He always ran down the field. He was always a pretty good tackler.
Yeah, well, he's also a loser, but
whoa. How dare you? He's he's one of the two Pro Bowlers in this draft class.
Yeah, well, he went from outside linebacker to long snapper, so
dude, I will tell you what. It was.
I don't mean that, by the way. He's not a loser. Okay, everybody's gonna jump on me in the chat.
Yeah, everybody does jump on you. I'm proud of you. 10 minutes in, you only gave people one reason to jump on you.
Yeah, I could sneeze and they jump at me. Assholes.
If my aunt had balls, she'd be my motherfucking uncle.
If my aunt had balls, she'd be my motherfucking uncle. Okay.
I don't know why I thought of that.
Well, just whatever.
So I'm not hating the craft of a long snapper.
No, neither
because
am I. It's very important.
we made
We saw it in the
well,
2002 wildcard game against San Francisco. Trey Junkin, whatever the fuck his name is.
how much money
That's
you know how much money you make every year though?
what, $1 million.
Just to snap a ball and then run down the field and try to take somebody's
He's
head
got the
off.
best position. He plays the best position. It's better than a backup quarterback.
Yeah.
Because you could like actually say I was part of this team's success and do the bare minimum. Whatever.
Kevin Boss was a 5th-round pick, huge contribution. Adam Coates was an offensive tackle. Who? Michael Johnson, 7th-round pick. Who? And then 7th round, Ahmad Bradshaw. You want to know the interesting fact about the Ahmad Bradshaw pick? Did Tom Coughlin talk about this at all? About the interesting fact around Ahmad Bradshaw and that pick?
Say the fact, and I'll tell you.
The Giants were awarded an additional 7th round compensatory pick, number 250th overall, and that was Ahmad Bradshaw. They used their compensatory pick. So I wonder who the free agent was that they lost like the year before that turned into Ahmad Bradshaw.
2006.
I don't know who they lost.
I don't either. That's something that we might have to go look up.
I can look it up. Why don't you continue with
Yeah,
so
well, you were just talking about the guys that were drafted, and that's where I wanted to get into. So Coughlin says our big need in 2007 is a top flight corner who can start right away. So they want to have a corner that starts out, on the other side of who's our corner? Webster and Madison, whatever the case.
Madison, yeah.
Madison. And we have our site, and he talks specifically, we have our sights set on Aaron Ross, the All-American corner from the University of Texas. And it's hysterical to me that he was an All-American because I don't think he was ever that good. I mean, he was average, I would say. We like his toughness, his hands, and his tackling ability. And Aaron can also return punts. By the way, Coughlin talks special teams a lot in just like the first 5 chapters. But in the first round, we picked 20th, and there are teams ahead of us who also are in need of a corner. We breathe a sigh of relief when, with the 18th pick, the Cincinnati Bengals take another corner, Michigan's Leon Hall. We take Aaron Ross 2 picks later. So they had Aaron Ross. They locked eyes with Aaron Ross. Dave Gettleman he was in the organization at that time, so he probably fell in full bloom love with Aaron Ross, and there was no debating taking him there. But it's nice to get your guy, especially when you're picking 20th and he falls to you. You have somebody in mind who, you have a high grade on, especially at clearly a position of need, and you get to take him. So that's fantastic. This is what I love. In the second round, well, just going back a minute, they had prospects invited to Giant Stadium to meet with them, get a feel for our organization, and in particular, and participate in formal in-person evaluation. And then he names a bunch of players. And Dwayne Jarrett was one of them. And he says Dwayne Jarrett was a guy that intrigued them. In the second round, Carolina takes Dwayne Jarrett, and we take his teammate, wide receiver Steve Smith, 6 picks later. So Dwayne Jarrett kind of panned out. Like was not that great from what I remember. And Steve Smith was an absolutely integral part of that 2007 Super Bowl. You can make an argument you don't win the game without Steve Smith. So it's funny how they bring in Dwayne Jarrett for a visit. They say they like what they see, the makeup of him. He had a great interview, but he gets sniped. He gets taken a few picks before, and I guess you could almost say they settled on Steve Smith. But in reality, they won that. So I appreciated reading that because Dwayne Jarrett would not have done what Steve Smith can do, catch 100,000 passes on third down. So anyway, he rounds out the list. Ahmad in the 7th round out of Marshall University. Typically, you hope your top 3 picks contribute in their first season. There is no way for us to know just how important a role all of these rookies will play in the upcoming season. So right there, that's a good point because the first 3 picks are usually the guys that you would consider are going to be able to contribute right away. And a lot of teams rely heavily on rookies, especially, with the contributions that this Giants team got, they absolutely relied on them. So the fact that they got contributions from rounds 1 to 7 speaks volume to how good the draft class was.
If somebody, and I'm serious about this because I'm very, very interested. I think this is a really, really fun fact. If somebody in the YouTube comments or if somebody, whether you reach out to us, preferably on my Twitter DMs, you can DM Snacks, you can DM myself. If somebody can find out what player departed from the Giants that wound up us getting the 250th pick in the 2007 draft, If somebody can tell us, I will give you a talk. I will buy you and I will send to you a Talking Giant shirt of your choice.
Oh,
I am that serious. I want to know that bad.
that's insane. I could probably find. Forget it. Can I get
I
the shirt if I get it?
I can't. No, no, you cannot. I
Why
have
don't you buy
just
me a shirt?
I have tried to look for this for the when you were talking, and I feel bad. I feel like Bobby Skinner. Bobby Skinner never listens to me when I talk.
No, it's evident too.
It's very evident. But I was not really. You were talking about the draft class. You did a great job breaking down that draft class, and especially I heard compliments for Steve Smith and I love that. But I was really trying to find who from who did we acquire, who left the Giants like free agency wise in 2006. Now I'm trying to see here because usually guys that leave free agency the year of a season, then the compensatory draft picks go to the next year. And I can't find who left the Giants in 2006. LeVar Arrington retired.
Yeah, that
Will Demps had 100 tackles for the Giants in 2006.
he did get signed by the Ravens, I believe. After
Well, no,
that.
it was the Ravens before, and then he
Oh,
went to the
right,
Giants for 1 year, and then he started 15 games and he played in 15 games and 9 games for the Texans in 07 and 08. What did his contract? I don't know. I'm going to stop naming names because if you get it right, and I don't know how I'm going to verify that you're right. I guess after the show, I'm going to research it, but I'm very
Yes.
interested in this.
You'll find the answer after the show. No, that's baffling. I did not know that about Ahmad Bradshaw. Nice fun fact. You're useful for a few things every now and then.
Thank you. Snacks, was there any talk of, and I maybe there wasn't a ton of talk on this, because this is especially kind of prevalent when we're thinking about the Giants now. Jordan Ronan came on our show Talking Giants, and he was talking about the collaboration process between coaching staff and management of how did they make the picks, how did they sign free agents. And Jordan Ronan basically said, that collaboration basically wasn't there with McAdoo and Shermer, especially Shermer. And the collaboration was kind of there for Joe Judge, and we saw the good performance that happened on the field. Did Coughlin talk about that at all, or did he kind of glance over it because he didn't want to talk about it?
No, he really doesn't mention the collaboration so much. He says our scouts will evaluate in person approximately 500 of the top prospects during the college season and report back to our scouting director. Once the scouting, and then he goes on to say, once the scouting director has all the scouting reports before the draft, him, Mark Ross, Chris Mara, and Jerry Reese have a meeting of the minds. He specifically mentions those guys, but yeah, it's pretty much. It seemed like a team effort, I would assume, and I mean, Coughlin, obviously this is after the season and after the fact, but he does say we needed a cornerback and a wide receiver. Their first 2 picks were cornerback and wide receiver.
Yep.
So I'm sure he definitely had some input there. It's actually funny. Wasn't Gettleman in that? He was in the building for that. No,
I believe he scouting talent evaluator. That's
right,
what he did.
Yeah,
so.
but he was never mentioned. I found that a little interesting. But all right. Anyway, so yeah. So we talk about the draft and how great the draft class was. Another thing I found, I don't want to say interesting, but Plax and Jeremy Shockey used to work out in Florida, not with the kid, not with the team and stuff. I think voluntary OTAs or whatever they were called at the time.
Mm-hmm.
So Coughlin talks about starting to feel good about the upcoming year. He likes the rookies, and he points out that Plaxico for the first time stayed in New Jersey and worked out with Eli. So Eli was throwing to Plaxico while Shockey, and I guess this is almost kind of seeing into the future a little bit that Shockey was causing some headaches. Stayed in Florida to work out.
Huh? Foreshadowing.
That's it. Yeah. So Shockey stayed in Florida, and Plax stayed in New Jersey and was working with Eli. And obviously they had that magical connection that year and throughout Plax's career with the Giants. So he was saying that kind of gave him some good mojo going to the season and a better feeling than he was already feeling. So yeah, but obviously he talks drafts, he talks Plax, and he says now with all this talk of change and my personality change and everything, he says all spring I put an enormous amount of thought into how I was going to change and how my relationship with the players could change. And I kept coming back to the same conclusion, just be myself. But how could I show them my fun-loving side? And then an idea is born. Poker. Charles Way makes the suggestion of a casino night to break. So he gets into the poker, and they obviously eating wings, drinking beer, and all that stuff. So that was the first of the team bonding. And in my opinion, my second favorite team bonding experience, because now we're going to training camp, and training camp back in the day was where? Where was training camp?
Albany, New York.
Yeah, thank you. I was literally asking you a question. I said, where was training camp?
It looked like you were picking your nose there for a second, so I was going to let you do that live on
Maybe
air.
I was scratching. You know what? Enough. Training camp being held in Albany. And I love this chapter because he in-depthly breaks down how a day in training camp worked. And
This
I
is
don't know.
extremely interesting because, well,
It's
hold on.
it's the whole schedule. Can you see it? Look at that. I don't
You
know
want to
if
know
you
what we'll do? We'll put a picture on the screen right now.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
That's what we'll do.
Yeah.
We'll put a picture
okay.
on the screen right now. But what I'm going to find very interesting about this. Now, I don't know what the day in, day out schedule looks like now, but I definitely know it's a lot less time on the practice field, with the whole new CBA stuff.
Right. And there's no two-a-days.
It was basically the 2011 season, the year the second Super Bowl. Remember they had the lockout?
Yes.
And they were playing catch in the streets of Hoboken, Victor Cruz and Nix and
That's
all the
right,
receivers
yep.
and Eli.
Yep.
They were playing catch in the streets of Hoboken, and they had the lockout that year. And that was like the first year where they really started to reduce down the practice time. So they probably had like 2-a-days.
Yeah, they did. Yep.
All right, so let's go through that schedule.
You want to go through it?
Let's go through it. I want to hear it.
All right. So 6 a.m. early wake up. The times kind of confused me a little bit, but I guess it's whatever. So 6 a.m. early wake up, 5:45 to 8 a.m. breakfast, mandatory. I love that. You have to eat breakfast. 6:30 a.m. treatment for players listed as out, mandatory. 6:45 wake up. I guess that's later wake up. 7 a.m. treatment, mandatory. 7 to 8:30 tape and dress, rookies and vets. 8:40 to 8:50 special teams and quarterback run and stretch. Then team stretch, play up, special teams period. And then 9 to 10:45 practice. And then 10 to 5 minutes head coach with media. Treatment, mandatory. Strength development. Lunch, mandatory. Jesus Christ, lunch was an hour and a half. Fucking slobs. 11:30 to 12:15 players with media. 12:15 lunch open to staff, media, and guests. 12:25 coaches AM tape review. It's crazy that they do all this. Then they go to the office and they watch tape of the practice that just happened 3 hours ago. 1 p.m. staff AM tape review. Training room open for tape and dress. Coaches prepare for afternoon meetings, offense, defense meetings, special teams, QB run stretch. It's the same thing because it's the second. It's pretty much broken down morning, afternoon. Blah, 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 blah. Then you go into practice conditioning, treatment, dinner, mandatory, another hour and a half, fucking pig fest. Coaches PM tape reviews at 6:30, 7 p.m. Coaches prepare for evening meetings, 7:30 special teams meeting, then quarterbacks meeting, then team meeting, lecture, nutrition, offense, defensive meeting, 7:50 to 9:30, 9:30 training room, ice and snack distribution. I was distributed to the players. 9:40 staff PM tape review next day schedule and practice. 11 p.m. bed check. That is insane.
I did not know. I mean, that is a 6 a.m. day to a 10 p.m. day?
Yeah, essentially.
I didn't know the players stayed for that long.
It's nuts. And there's a story. I'm not going to get too much into it. But since we're on the topic, like they have a curfew. I forget what time the curfew, maybe 10 o'clock was the curfew, or 11 o'clock, the curfew bed check. Jeff Fiegels came up to Coughlin and suggested a kicking competition between Lawrence Tynes and forget his name, Josh Houston.
Mm-hmm.
Those were the two guys competing for the kicking job. So Tynes kicked for the offense and Houston kicked for the defense. Whoever made the most, that either the offense or defense would get an extra hour of curfew. So kind of like a team camaraderie building thing where the offensive guys are rooting for Tynes, and he's talking about they're distracting Houston and vice versa for that extra hour of curfew when you're being run like dogs all day. It's probably a big hour for them.
Yeah.
So I found that funny, but that schedule is intense.
Yeah, no wonder why the Players Association doesn't want them in pads so much.
Yeah, you
doing
think
2-a-days.
You feel like their days probably started to nowadays. It's like from 7 to like 1, they're done.
Well, I feel so much of it has to be in the classroom. Like so much of it has to be in the classroom.
Right.
because really they're out in the practice. I mean, now maybe they're doing more conditioning. I don't know the exact parameters and the exact wordage and what's in the actual CBA, but I definitely know it's not 2-a-days. They don't have the 2-a-days anymore. And there's even some coaches that don't even make them dress up in pads and do the 11-on-11 contact as much that is allowed in the CBA. Like Joe Judge clearly pushes that limit. Joe
Oh
Judge and
yeah,
Bill.
he's right at the very, very
Yeah,
thin of the ice.
I
Yep.
think Bill Belichick actually in the past has gotten in trouble for
I'm sure he has.
breaking rules of the CBA because he has his guys practicing in pads too much, or maybe John Harbaugh has also gotten in trouble with that too. The good coaches try to manipulate it, and hopefully Joe Judge is one of those guys. We heard the things that we were hearing, and I know this is Tom Coughlin episode, but the things that
That's
we were
okay.
hearing from last training camp of like the noises that, now remember the beat reporters, they were a very large distance away from everything, I'm
Mhm.
pretty sure. No physical distance COVID over the summer. And the things that we were hearing out of training camp was like, this should not be happening.
No.
But that is actually what was happening during like, the '07 training camp and
Yeah.
even before that.
This was real stuff. Like
This was the norm.
this was the norm. Yeah. And I'm sure Coughlin would have wrote him harder if they allowed it. But it was crazy just to read that schedule, and you're like reading each line, you're like, Jesus Christ. But whatever, it worked.
So he feels good about like the development of training camp, the development of the team in training camp. Does he talk about at any point the differences in vibes of like this training camp versus past training camps?
He said early in the chapter, he said at the end it felt more loose, like
Yeah.
people were more bought in. And I think he actually ends the chapter with saying, "I have a very good feeling going into the year, or we're gonna be a player this year." I
Yeah.
think was his word. Um, but before they even take the field and they're in training camp, there was one big name missing. I don't know if you remember this.
Well, Michael Strahan.
Michael Strahan was not in camp. And Coughlin, he says it was not due to contract. It was not due to holding out, nothing like that. But he legitimately wasn't sure if wanted to play. And from Michael's standpoint, I can understand that. You looking at your team and there's turnover. You lost arguably your best offensive player in scumbag, quitter, whining little bitch, Tiki Barber. And you're like, we were 8-8 last year. We lost playoff game. Am I coming back? Am I going through the rigors of training camp just to be 9-7, 10-6, be mediocre? That's something that would probably takes a toll on you.
Yeah.
So obviously Michael plays that year. He skipped training camp. He skipped training
What
camp.
was it? What was it from America's Game? I mean, did he get fined like $250,000?
Yeah, it was a lot of money.
He's
A
and then
lot of
he
money.
he said on training, he said on America's Game, you know, I didn't know I could miss training camp, and
He
if
goes, I
I
would have. He goes, it was well worth it.
if
I
it
wouldn't
was
have done it
two
all these years.
if it was $2.5 million, I would have I would have missed
Right,
training camp every year.
It was the best $200,000 I've ever spent. If they would have told me 10 years ago I could have paid $200,000 in missed camp, I would have paid about $2 million in fines right now.
He goes, there was no price that you could tell me that I wouldn't skip training camp again.
Which, hearing that schedule,
I would probably try and skip it too.
yeah,
But Coach talks about how he spoke with Michael a few times, and it was, it really was him not knowing if the desire and the fire in his heart was still there to play. And Coughlin goes, he goes, I'm confident that you can return to an all-pro status. We miss your smile, your presence, your competitive fire in camp, but life goes on without him. Typical coach talk, obviously. It's harsh. It's harsh. That's Michael Strahan. That's, some people could argue he's on the Mount Rushmore of New York Giants of all time.
oh, he is.
Yeah.
He
so that's, life goes on without him. That's tough. And then he goes on to say, like, he said, Michael, I don't want you here if the fire and desire is not there. He goes, if you're going to come in half-assed, don't come in at all. So,
because that was the problem of the 2006 season.
Right. Exactly. They're undisciplined. They're too much talking. And he mentions that, he goes, this theme is talk is cheap, play the game. There was too much talking last year. So I talked about the Lawrence Tynes battle. Here we go. So we talked briefly mentioned the poker, but I guess the more on record story, because it is in America's Game. So we may clip a we may clip a video from America's Game on our Twitter account this week. And Coughlin says he's very known for his lectures and his PowerPoints. And he always says the players kind of roll their eyes when he gets up to talk and he's going through his presentation. So I'll read it. The players walk into the room and take their seats awaiting my next boring PowerPoint presentation. I start in on our objectives, review the schedule for the next day, and then flip to the next slide, which reads, in quotes, "We're going bowling!" ! There are some shouts of surprise, but I can tell the players must have had an inkling something was up. Still, it is a dramatic way to start the night. Pile in the buses and head out to the local bowling alley. We divide the players and coaches. I love this. We divide the players and coaches into teams, making sure that the 4 or 5 man teams are diverse. So this is a great way to just have players get to know each other a little bit better.
Team building. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Team building, team camaraderie, team chemistry. Breaking into young guys, veterans, offense, defense, coaches, players. So I love that. And 2006, 2005, 2004, Tom Coughlin is never doing this. He's not doing this. He's running that ship like a dictatorship. So he goes on to talk about how good Kareem McKenzie and David Tyree are. They bought their own bowling balls, which they must have knew something was up, because how would they bring their bowling balls if they went from the facility to the bowling alley? Anyway, whatever. The winning team was Coach Chris Palmer, David Tyree, Michael Jennings, and Sonoris Moss, if you were curious, which doesn't really look like you are, so that's okay. Just a little, not a sneak peek, but a little viewing of the change Coach Coughlin was indeed making, and the one that he promised to make.
What I'm trying to do
I'm
trying to see the closest bowling alley to MetLife Stadium, or excuse me, Giants Stadium at the time. That's what
No. This is still in Albany.
Oh, that's right.
It's still in Albany, because remember, and I was confused by this too, because he talks about Strahan first and then says he comes back after training camp. But this is a story from training camp.
That's right. Okay.
This is because remember, Michael on America's Game talks about not going bowling.
Right.
I don't know if you remember that. So yeah, so it's in Albany. The bowling.
Right, that makes sense, because the closest bowling alley, I think, to East Rutherford. Now I could be wrong.
Parkway Lanes.
I think. There's also Lodi Lanes.
That's it. It's got Lodi's right there.
Lodi is right there. I mean, it's right by Route 3. It's right off of Route 3.
Lodi is like not even 10 minutes from East Rutherford. So.
And actually, fun fact, my buddy Matt, I forget who there would be these guys during training camp. My buddy Matt would go bowling during the day because we were in college, and he would just get up and go through a few games and whatnot. And I forget the players, but they were like no name players that would go, and they would bowl at Lodi Lanes for a little bit, I guess, before Shermer's practices. The guys could afford to go, and I think it was Tay Davis. Low-key think it was Tay Davis. Tay Davis, remember him? Really fast linebacker.
He was terrible.
Well,
hold on, real quick. I don't mean to interrupt your story, but
you're
a very good bowler.
I am. I'm a state champ. I will include some pictures right now. I am a state sectional champion in 2016 in the state of New Jersey for high school bowling. Yes.
You were in high school in 2016?
I graduated in 2016. Yes.
Jesus Christ. That is very impressive, though. And credit to me being a great co-host and letting you feeding your ego. So
thank you.
So say thank you. You're welcome. Which, by the way, I'm sorry. You got to tell me before we come live. Look at my eyebrow.
Your name has also been Grace Bertone this entire time.
Oh, has it? That's my aunt. Sorry. No, that's on you. You should have changed it.
It's on me. Yeah, I'm the producer.
Please, nobody.
Should I keep it up, or should I somehow edit it out?
Try and edit it out. I don't want people knowing her name. Even though now they already know it.
Well, we already said it.
Now they already know it. But can you never let me come on camera looking like this again?
I don't know what's wrong with your eyebrow. What's wrong with you?
It's one.
I don't understand what.
A unibrow, Justin. One eyebrow. A unibrow.
We can't.
You ever hear of them?
We can't see that.
Are you sure?
Yeah, it's.
Why do you think I started the show like this? Because I was trying to hide it. Like a mutt. Look at me. You
do look good in those glasses, though.
You think so?
Oh yeah, very astute.
Yeah. No, I can't do it. I don't wear glasses. I need them because I'm blind, but I don't wear them. Too much pride, baby. One day my vision will come back. Anyway, just a couple more things. I want to quickly talk about. Remember last week we were talking about like the families and like the lives of families and coaches and players and whatnot.
Yeah.
Like it's more than football. Outside of football is a lot more than that. I didn't know Lawrence Tynes, and I want to bring up Lawrence Tynes because it's funny. You follow him on Instagram. He's always posting pictures of his twin kids, and they're adorable. He's got a beautiful wife, beautiful family. So shortly after we traded for Lawrence Tynes in May, his wife went into premature labor with twin boys in Kansas City. He called to inform me of the severity of the situation, and I gave him my blessing to remain at her bedside as long as he needed to. Great guy, coach. I almost feel like, no, I shouldn't say that. That's really messed up. Like 2005, Coach Coughlin's like, nope, get your ass to training camp or whatever the case. And he's like, nope, stay by your wife.
I would hope not.
No, it's true. I know. But just the way we've talked about the change and everything, I figure I'd throw a little wrinkle.
You're 3 minutes early to a meeting, you'll still be fined $500.
Well, that's a big thing. Michael Strahan says that he showed up to a meeting 3 minutes early with $500. But I just that hit me real quick. It's like these guys have so much more in their lives than just football and training camp. And your wife premature labor or pregnancy and everything is. I mean, I've never had a kid. I'm not, that isn't my style. So I don't know how, what's going on there, but just the human side of them.
Yeah. When you have a day,
it made me have a better appreciation for Lawrence Tynes. Is kind of where I was getting.
Yeah. When you have a day that goes from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. and, you can't FaceTime for a couple minutes during the day, right? We're still 2007 with full phones. I mean, you could take pictures and stuff like that, but it's not the same. You can do phone calls. Yeah.
And I'm happy you brought that up because I stupidly failed to mention that he had struggled a little bit that preseason and he was battling with the other kicker to see who wins the job. And Coughlin talks about how that stuff may have been affecting him, that he wasn't able to solely focus on his craft, his kicking. And he always took note of that. And that's not ultimately why they kept him, but he was a veteran kicker and they knew what he could do. So just tough situation.
Yeah.
But
we always pull fits, like our jobs and stuff like that, right? Oh, if we're not getting a long enough lunch, if we don't get the right parking spot, if we have to do a little bit more than we're asked to do. I mean, especially now, now I understand now, like during the time of COVID, and there's it's more demanding if you're working at home because the lines of you working at home versus what you are doing at your job, all of those things are blurred. But I mean, still, we sometimes can pull fits about that. When the days, at least what they used to be, the days of, I can't get over that 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. Now, granted, what is there like 3 meal times built in there and they're all hour and a halves. Yeah. So they seem to eat pretty good, but it's a very long and exhausting day. So snacks we're kind of through training camp. Giants went, does he talk about the preseason and all? They went 1-3.
They do, but it's very basic stuff. He liked what he saw. He didn't like what he said. Very, very simplistic stuff that I didn't want to waste too much time on. I could have talked like 30 seconds about it, but instead I wanted to kind of give Lawrence Tynes just a little shout out.
We're on to the regular season.
We're on to the regular season, right? And that's what we're going to talk about next because I know we're running out of time. But real quick, I know it was Giants fans should know this, but the Leadership Council. The Leadership Council, correct?
Yes.
And that was a very big thing. And Tom Coughlin, I've read the book numerous times, so he goes back to it a lot during the book. He credits the Leadership Council with a lot of the team's success that year. And to no surprise, Charles Way is in the center of it again. Charles Way is like an angel. I don't even know what his title was in the organization, but he was an absolute angel. Charles Way needs to be thanked for a lot of different things. So Charles Way, who is instrumental in our organization and who sits in all our staff meetings. So he's just a guy that sits in their staff meetings. Helps me choose the right guy for the council. We want to make sure there's a diverse group. Another thing that I love that he's adding, all different parts of the team, young, veteran, whatever the case. Yeah. There are so many players that make sense, but we can't include them all. So we can't actually real quick, because we're going to end on this. Can you name the players on the council? And I'll give you a hint. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 11 council members. Let's see how many you can name.
I want to say Pierce.
Pierce was one.
Strahan.
Strahan.
I
think a few are going to be a little surprising.
I don't know if Eli wasn't one, right?
Eli was one, yeah.
Eli was one. Okay. Yeah. Eli.
I mentioned him earlier in the show.
Shockey.
Wow. I didn't mention. Well, I did mention him, but yeah, that one threw me off because I Shockey was like a head case.
Was Fred Robbins on there?
No, unfortunately, should have been.
He had a cat. He had a C on his jersey.
He did, yeah. But
at least during like the 05 season.
Shockey surprised me a little bit.
Sam Madison had to be on there.
Mm-mm.
Whoa.
Sam Madison was not on there.
Longtime NFL vet. Jeff Fiegels.
Jeff Fiegels was on there, yes.
Jeff Fiegels was on there. Offensive players, backup quarterback.
Nope.
No, right? Because Hasselback was the backup at the time. Offensive lineman, Sean O'Hara.
Yeah, yep, one of three.
Chris Snee.
Yep.
Let's see. It's tackles. I'm gonna go with Deal over Soybert.
Very good call.
Yeah.
Very good call. Yeah.
Okay.
You're doing very well. You're missing 3.
How many are any secondary players?
No.
All right, I figured that. So the safeties including in the secondary players,
correct,
right?
Yes.
Linebackers. Any more linebackers I'm missing?
Yes.
Reggie Torbor.
No. See, this could be a trick to you.
Zach Diossi was a rookie.
No.
This could be a trick.
This could be a trick to you.
Not Kavika Mitchell was a free agent. Matthias Kiwanuka.
There you go. Yes.
Yeah.
Because this was his first season as a line. He was transitioning to linebacker.
But that's strange. He was a rookie in 06. So
yeah. He was a rookie D end. But that's why I said diverse. He brought in a young guy. He had veterans.
Right.
So offense, defense, special teams, the whole thing.
How many am I missing? 2?
You're missing 2, and you're gonna hit yourself for missing one of them. Who's your favorite player?
Steve Smith? OC.
No.
OC.
Yes.
OC. And then OC's a really good leader. And on him. Oh, damn. I got like the hard ones, but I didn't get some of the easy ones.
Right. You didn't get OC and Toomer. I'm shocked.
I figured Shockey would be on there because Shockey had to be the longest tenured player on offense besides Amani Toomer. Had to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Besides Toomer. Yeah. He was drafted in 02.
Yeah. Maybe Deal. No.
Deal was drafted 03, I think.
Yep. Okay. Cool.
So yeah. But that was the leadership council, and Coughlin gives it. He says so much of their success was due to it. And he also talks about how early on, they were not like receptive. The first meeting was very quiet. They weren't really getting into the juice of anything. But after a while, every meeting every week would light up more and more, and they'd go longer and longer and longer.
One final point. What's the difference between Tom Coughlin's leadership council and a student council in a school?
That's a great question, and I have no answer for you, but somebody just barged into my room. So
we're gonna end the show.
Hold on. No. I don't know if the listeners have ever seen this intruder. Say hi, Ben. That's a microphone. You see that? You know Justin. Don't spit in my wine, bitch. Look at him. Look how beautiful he is.
Well, that's
Say
great.
Hi, Ben.
That's great. I heard Benny's like his breaths.
Yeah, well, yeah, you've met Benny. You know how he breathes. He's a French bulldog. He's got no breathe. Get out of there. Those are my trophies, and they got dust on them. But yeah, so when we get back to, you want to kind of briefly go what we're doing next, or no?
I want to save it all. I mean, odds are it's the regular season, right?
No. Right. I meant like what we're doing on the show, because I think we're going to take a little break from the Coughlin book.
Yes, we're taking a break from the book. I'm not promising anything. I hate promising things on podcasts, especially when we don't know what's coming up.
That's the beauty.
We're going to aim for something different, and it will be something different, but it just depends on what that thing is.
Yeah. So just make sure you're watching.
Yeah. So we did 2 weeks on with Tom Coughlin. We're going to take a 2-week break, and then we're going to go for 2 more weeks.
And we are going to get into the regular season. I wanted to make it a build-up of Coughlin and the 2006 season, what he needed to do, and the training camp draft and everything like that. Now we go into it, baby.
We're in it. We're in the thick of it. All right. Keep on bleeding blue. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for watching. Another weekend, another off-season weekend. We're having a lot of fun. We're making the off-season fun. Thank you so much for watching. Keep on bleeding blue. We'll see you next week. Peace.
Fuck Tiki Barber, baby.